Billionaire CEO leaves wife for maid, the shocking truth unveiled at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, and the mansion was eerily silent, except for the faint sound of a delicate chime ringing out from the grand foyer. Inside, the gilded halls of wealth and privilege masked an unexpected scandal. At that hour, whispers of betrayal echoed louder than the rustle of silk sheets. James Harrington, the towering billionaire with piercing blue eyes that could freeze flames, was allegedly slipping away in the night not to a clandestine business meeting but into the arms of the household maid. Yes, you heard that right. A mere maid. The very thought sent chills across social media waves, igniting curiosity like wildfire. This wasn't just a scandal, it was a bombshell waiting to explode. The maid, a young woman named Sophia with a flair for mischief and a head full of dreams, had been quietly navigating the glamorous yet rigid world of the Harrington estate. Friends spoke of her quick laugh and resilient spirit, how her smile could light up the dreariest of days. But was she truly innocent? Behind the innocent facade, maybe something darker was brewing. Turning servants into lovers was a classic tale of forbidden romance, one that danced on the line between fantasy and reality. As the scandal spread like a sudden storm, those who witnessed the unusual scene, household staff and onlookers outside, reported strange happenings. Glassy-eyed, they whispered about mysterious late-night meetings and suspicious sounds penetrating the still air. Their murmurs became frenzied, pulses quickened. Could this really be happening? The flashes of expensive cars making stealthy exits at odd hours held a mysterious allure, each sighting deeper than the last. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Caught in this tangled web, the truth danced on the edges of nightmares and secrets. Just as the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the sprawling estate, Sophia slipped out into the dawn, looking back at the mansion that held her heart and her deepest fears. What was she running from, and what was waiting for her just around the corner? The air hummed with unspoken words and untold stories. How far would she go to protect her truth? And what dark secrets lay buried beneath the surface, ready to be uncovered? Sophia's heart thudded in her chest as she sank into the comforting shadows of the dawn. The mansion loomed behind her, an imposing fortress of whispers and secrets. The delicate gold and glass exterior that once seemed so glamorous now felt like a gilded prison. She felt the weight of betrayal hang heavy in the air, yet there was a thrill coursing through her veins, a mixture of fear and the intoxicating rush of escaping the watchful eyes that surrounded her. No one knew the truth. Not yet. She was determined to keep it that way, but with each step away from the estate, the walls of her carefully constructed world began to close in. What if someone saw her? What if they knew? The staff members had become a tight-knit family, bound by shared secrets and silenced confessions. She could hear their muffled gasps, whispers of suspicion, as she imagined their shocked faces. Suddenly, a rustle behind her shattered her thoughts. She spun around, breath hitching in her throat. It was Felix, the gardener. With his thick hands calloused from years of work, he looked up at her, eyes wide with concern. Sophia. Where are you going? It's too early to be out alone. She forced a smile, the edges trembling as she spoke, just needed some air. Her voice wavered. Would he believe her? Felix had always been an observer, the quiet kind who picked up on the smallest details. Would he sense her fear? No one is supposed to be up this early. His brow furrowed, worry etched into his weathered face. I saw the car leaving, James's car. I can help you if you need to know. The word escaped her lips before she could stop it. The desperation thickened the air between them. Please. Don't say anything. He nodded slowly, the weight of her request sinking in. The silence stretched, a fragile moment hanging between them, pulsing with danger and possibility. As she turned to leave, the shimmering rays of sunlight began to pierce the horizon, illuminating the estate in an almost ethereal glow. In that moment, Sophia thought of James, the billionaire who had whisked her into a fairy tale. But what was a fairy tale, after all, if it was built on deception? Her heart sank. She had seen the way he looked at her, the intensity sparking between them like wildfire. Yet every stolen moment felt tainted now, the thrill subsumed by the thick fog of guilt. She could no longer tell where love ended and betrayal began. As Sophia hurried further from the estate, she found her mind racing with thoughts of escape. What if she packed a bag and simply vanished? The idea sent a shiver down her spine. However, something else tugged at her. What about James's wife, Margaret, who remained oblivious to the storm brewing around her? Just then, she heard a loud crash behind her, a window shattering. Her heart dropped. Was it a warning, a signal? With a jolt of panic, she turned back, the mansion now a dark silhouette against the amber glow of the dawn. Was there a secret waiting to be uncovered? One that would change everything? Breathless, she whispered to herself, what have I gotten myself into? As the heavy silence settled, she knew one thing, the truth was coming for her, and she had to prepare for the showdown she never wanted. What lay ahead as she stepped back into the treacherous world she'd been trying to escape? Suddenly, a voice pierced the morning calm. It was James. Sophia. Where are you? Her stomach tightened. The moment had arrived, but what would happen next? Sophia's heart raced as she stepped back into the shadow of the mansion, the thrill of fear mixing with a gut-wrenching sense of dread. James's voice echoed like a curse, pulling her deeper into the web she was desperately trying to escape. She could not get caught now. Not after everything. The door behind him swung open, revealing a disheveled James, his dark hair tousled but his expression sharp, like a predator on the hunt. Sophia. He called again, and she forced her feet to move, creeping back into the shadows, praying the early morning light didn't betray her. The house loomed large, filled with dark corners where secrets festered. She felt it. The pulse of anxiety wrapped around her throat, making her breath hitch. The last thing she needed was for James to find her before she could gather her thoughts. She crouched behind a marble column, peering out cautiously. James moved through the living room, glancing around as if he could somehow sense her presence. Her palms were sweaty against the cool marble. What was she to him? An escape, a distraction? Or something deeper? Still scanning the room, he shouted, "Where are you?" Panic clawed at her chest. Did he know? She couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted, his eyes piercing through the shadows searching for her. "Come on, Sophia." His voice rang out again, with an edge that made her shiver. "I need to talk to you." Talk. What was left to say? Would he confess? Would he explain the betrayal? The guilt of hiding his truth while pretending to love her? Then, as if the universe had decided to turn the knife, she caught a glimpse of movement through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Margaret. James's wife was emerging from the back garden, her arms crossed defensively, a frown etched deep on her features. She spoke loudly, her voice muffled, but Sophia could see she was angry, hurt. Sophia's mind raced. Margaret had every right to be pissed. But did she also have a right to the truth? James turned sharply toward the sound of Margaret's voice. "What is going on?" he called, relief and irritation colliding in his tone. The two of them were about to have it out, and Sophia was caught right in the middle, like a moth drawn to a flame. She should pull away. Leave the chaos behind and never look back, but her legs felt like lead. Could she even trust herself after all that had happened? Then, like a scene straight from a nightmare, James took off in the direction of his wife. Sophia's heart sank. She had to get out before they connected, before she got caught in the cruel crossfire of their confrontation. With every ounce of strength, she turned and started to slip away, painfully aware of the betrayal she'd woven around her heart. But the sound of her footsteps, soft yet heavy with meaning, caught James's attention. He spun back, eyes wild, the look on his face burning with confusion and anger. "Why are you hiding? Come out." Sophia felt the walls close in. The weight of impending doom loomed like the storm clouds gathering in the distance. As she hesitated, the ground beneath her seemed to shift. Either choice she made: stay and face the truth, or run and risk a life forever haunted by secrets would change everything. Suddenly, the mansion's phone rang, a sharp, jolting sound slicing through the tension. Both James and Margaret paused, their expressions shifting to shock. "What now?" James's voice was taut, filled with dread, as if he sensed the gravity of what that call could entail. With her heart pounding as if to drown out the world, Sophia slinked backward, ready to disappear into the shadows. But what awaited her in the darkness? "Who is it?" Margaret asked, her eyes narrowing on James. Sophia was trapped, the lies coiling around her tighter than ever. The call, the truth, the confrontation, it all hung in the air, pregnant with suspense. What truth would the phone reveal, and would it finally expose the dark, tangled web she'd found herself in? With every fiber of her being, she knew, the worst was yet to come. Sophia's breath hitched in her throat as the phone rang again, a shrill sound slicing through the heavy silence that filled the mansion. Her heart drummed a frantic rhythm, a warning to flee, but she felt glued in place. The urgency in the air, tinged with fear, made her bones feel heavy, as if time itself had slowed down. James's expression shifted from annoyance to something more primal. A flicker of panic crossed his features, the mask of confidence slipping. "I'll get it." He stepped toward the phone, driven by something beyond just necessity. "James, wait." Margaret's voice was sharp, filled with an emotion Sophia couldn't quite place: dread, resolve, maybe both. The tension in the room made her skin prickle. This moment was too precarious, everything felt as if it could explode right in front of her. Sophia remained crouched, still hidden from view, muscles tense. She watched as James hesitated for just a second, uncertainty veiling his eyes. He looked back at Margaret, who had taken a step forward, the determination in her stance powerful and unyielding. "What did you want to say to me?" she demanded, looking for answers, for clarity, her voice shaking but strong. James swallowed hard, glancing again at the phone. I need to take this." "No. You're not running away from this. Not now. Not again." Margaret's plea pierced the air, a desperate attempt to pull him back from whatever revelation hovered over them. The phone rang louder, more insistent. The voice on the other end was an unseen specter, waiting to tip their world upside down. Was it a family member? A business partner? Or something far more dangerous? Sophia's instincts screamed at her to abandon the scene, but she was caught in the haunting anticipation of what those words could bring. As James reached for the phone, his hand trembling, Sophia felt a lump in her throat. She couldn't bear the thought of him hearing something that would shatter the fragile reality of their lives. She needed to know what would be revealed, what truth lay ready to spill from the receiver's mouth. "Answer it," Margaret urged, her eyes softening, filled with something that resembled fear. Was it fear for him, or fear of what he might reveal to her? Before he could grab the receiver, Sophia's foot slipped, a soft scuffle against the marble floor. Panic surged through her, and she froze, every instinct telling her to vanish. But it was too late. "Who's there?" James's voice was suddenly low and menacing, piercing through the tension like a knife. "Sophia." In the blink of an eye, Margaret turned, eyes wide, shock covering her face. "You were here all along," she said, her disbelief filling the space between them. Sophia felt the heat of humiliation wash over her, but behind that, a flicker of defiance ignited. This was the moment she needed to seize. She began, but no words came, leaving the fraught atmosphere crackling with unresolved emotions. James's gaze was locked on her, a swirling mix of anger and curiosity, but it was Margaret's response that struck deeper. "You!" Margaret accused, voice rising, hurt twisting into rage. "You lied to me. You think you can just creep in and wait? James interjected, his voice stern, betraying a desperate need to maintain control. He stepped around the phone, between the two women, trying to keep the peace, but his face was a tempest of emotions. Let us just hear what they want. But would that answer bring clarity or chaos? Would it set loose the demons they had kept chained inside? Sophia held her breath, each second stretching as the world around her hung in uncertainty. Whatever truth came next could change everything, sweeping aside the fragile balance they had built, the lies and the secrets that bound them together. As James finally lifted the receiver, mouth set in a grim line, the air felt as taut as a tightrope. All eyes were watching, hearts in their throats. Sophia braced, knowing that whatever awaited on the other end could tear apart their carefully constructed lives. Who is it? James asked, voice heavy as a storm cloud. The sound of muffled words echoed through the room, growing louder. Sophia felt the ground beneath her tremble as if warning her of the waves about to crash. The truth was heading their way, and the question loomed, would they be washed away in the aftermath? James, don't, Margaret whispered, dread written all over her face, but it was too late, and this would be the moment everything spiraled out of control. The moment James spoke into the receiver, his voice caught in a choked whisper, the atmosphere changed instantly. What do you mean you have proof? He leaned against the wall, the color draining from his face as he listened. Sophia's heart raced, a frantic drum echoing in her ears. She stepped back, instinctively moving into the shadows, feeling like a ghost in a world abruptly colored by dread. Margaret's breath hitched as she watched James, eyes wide, expressing a whirlwind of fear, anger, and betrayal. Who told you that? He demanded, voice rising sharply, an unpredictable spark igniting a rising tide of tension. Sophia clenched her fists, desperately trying to decipher the coded conversation. She could no longer suppress the weight of dread pooling in her stomach. If James was in trouble, she was entangled in it too. Shouldn't he have hidden, shouldn't he have risked this confrontation? Listen to me, this isn't what you think, James continued, pacing now, his free hand weaving through his hair, a sign of cracking resolve. The hesitation in his voice made Sophia feel like she was standing on the edge of a chasm, teetering between knowing and not knowing. Margaret took a shaky step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. James, what are they saying? Please don't keep me in the dark. The desperation reflected in her eyes was almost unbearable. It sent a bolt of sympathy through Sophia. James's face twisted into a mask of anger and disbelief, but the fear lurking behind his bravado was unmistakable. You need to calm down, he snapped into the phone. You don't know what you're talking about. I would never. A wild, splintered laugh came from the other end, sharp and nearly hysterical. The sound clawed at the corners of Sophia's mind, sending chills cascading through her spine. It wasn't just a joke, it was the echo of a truth she didn't understand yet, but one that felt as heavy as a lead weight. James, just tell me who. Margaret pressed, her voice shaking. Her face was a storm of emotions, hurt mixing with the despair of uncertainty. Setting the phone down, James's hands trembled. It's about you, Margaret. The words hung between them like a guillotine ready to fall. He says he's seen you with someone else. Sophia watched as a cascade of emotions flooded over Margaret: shock, disbelief, heartbreak. The world around them felt as if it were cracking open, the foundation of their lives shifting beneath their feet. No. No way, Margaret whispered, her voice barely audible, falling apart before Sophia's eyes. You don't believe him, do you? The air thickened with palpable tension, the room felt alive, crackling with potential disaster. James turned to Sophia, their eyes locking in a quiet moment of understanding. In him, she saw anger simmering, but in her heart, she found overwhelming sympathy for both of them. This was not the time to be hidden. Callously revealing herself now would do no justice. But how could this happen? Margaret cried, steamrolling through her turmoil. James, you have to trust me. I want to, he replied, desperation clawing through the cracks in his once unshakable confidence. But how can I? I don't know who to believe anymore." The walls seemed to constrict on them, and the weight of betrayal hung heavily in the air, suffocating every hopeful thought. Outside, a sudden clap of thunder rumbled, echoing the tumult inside the mansion. Sophia shivered, feeling the surge of chaos around them. The conversation on the phone continued in frantic whispers, words slipping through the cracks like shadows. Then, just as abruptly as it had begun, it fell silent. James's eyes darted back to the phone, almost as if he expected it to ring again with further revelations. What does this even mean? He was talking to himself now, breathless. Sophia could feel her heart thudding loudly against the insistent silence. She wanted to reach out, to draw them back together, but the barrier of secrets loomed too large. "James, what if he is telling the truth?" Margaret said, and her voice wavered. In that moment, Sophia realized they were spiraling into something darker, a chasm that could engulf them all. But as realization dawned in the air, something sparkled in the distance, a cold, jarring light. They needed answers, but would they seek the truth or bury it under the weight of their unspoken fears? The phone lit up again, breaking the silence, a message alert this time. James grabbed it, his eyes widening in shock. "Who is it from?" Margaret asked, panic rising in her voice. That he swiped the screen and froze, a look of disbelief washing over him. "No," he gasped. "It can't be." And just like that, the pieces threatened to unravel, but so many questions lingered in the room, waiting to be answered. Would this new clue reveal the truth or plunge them deeper into a web of deceit? What lay ahead would alter everything they thought they knew about each other. Sophia braced herself. The storm was building, and they were all caught in the eye of it. James's hands trembled as he held the phone, the glaring screen illuminating his pale face. His eyes darted between the message and Margaret, who was moving closer, desperation etched on her features. Who is it?" Her voice cracked. He swallowed hard. "It says it's from Alex. He wants to meet." The weight of those words hit like a thunderclap, and for a moment, everything froze. Margaret's expression shifted from confusion to horror. "Alex? The guy from the party?" James nodded slowly, his mind racing. "He said he has something important to tell me." About you?" Margaret recoiled as if struck. What could he possibly know? The fire in her voice dimmed to a whisper, her composure collapsing. Sophia felt the air grow colder, the walls of the room seeming to inch closer. She resisted the urge to plunge forward, to intervene as both their worlds shattered around them like a fragile mirror. "Why would he reach out to you?" James's tone turned sharper, his eyes narrowing. "What is going on, Margaret?" I don't know," she yelled, throwing her hands up in a sudden burst of frustration. "I haven't spoken to him since then. Why would he even think he could come at you like this?" "He has proof, Margaret," James shot back, each word steeped in accusation. "You need to be honest with me." The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat echoing in Sophia's ears like a countdown to disaster. She could feel their secrets hanging thick, clawing for release, but now was not the time for her to reveal herself. Shrouded in darkness, she simply watched, a bystander to their unraveling. Suddenly, the phone buzzed in James's hand again, this time more insistent. His fingers twitched as he glanced at the notification. It was another message, the screen lighting up with a single word, "Tonight." "What does that mean?" Margaret asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," he admitted, frustration bubbling up in his throat. "But I think we need to find out. What if this is the truth?" "But James," Margaret's voice softened, pleading. "What if this is all a trick? What if he is trying to manipulate you, turn you against me?" In that moment, doubt flickered in James's eyes. He wanted to believe Margaret, he really did. But a crack had formed in their trust, and every word ignited concern like a wildfire. "Stop!" A sudden voice interrupted from the shadows. Sophia, stepping forward without thinking. "You both need to face this. hiding one T help. Whatever is going on, it needs to be addressed. They both turned toward her, shock and frustration intertwining in their expressions. Margaret's eyes narrowed, suspicion rising as the light cast shadows across her face. Who are you? Just a spectator to our pain? No, Sophia responded, shaking her head. I'm just here to tell you that secrets will tear you apart. You need to confront this, together. James exchanged glances with Margaret, the air thickening with uncertainty. What do you know? He demanded, the edge returning to his voice. Enough to know that there's more at play here than you can see, she replied. Trust is fragile. If you let it crack, someone else will take advantage. Margaret hesitated, her eyes darting away, as if searching for answers written in the fabric of the room. And what if I am innocent? What if you're all just monsters in this tale? That's what you need to find out, Sophia urged. Meet Alex. Get the truth out there, once and for all. A moment of silence enveloped them, the storm outside unleashing its fury, thunder rattling the windows. Finally, James's voice tore through the stillness. Fine. I'll meet him tonight. But we need to figure this out. Together. Margaret nodded slowly, but her gaze remained trapped in her spiraling thoughts. But before they could agree on anything further, the lights flickered ominously, plunging them momentarily into darkness. An icy grip of fear tightened around their hearts. Whispers from the shadows seemed to crawl under their skin. When the lights returned, Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. A figure stood just outside the mansion, drenched and unnaturally still. A strange sense of foreboding settled in her gut. Who is that? Margaret gasped, backing away. James's eyes narrowed, his voice low. I don't know. But we better find out before it's too late. The storm raged on, but now something more sinister lurked within the shadows, ready to unveil a truth far darker than any of them could have anticipated. As the door creaked open, their fates hung in the balance, waiting to be unraveled. The door swung open with a deliberate creak, revealing the figure outside, wet hair plastered across a gaunt face. Shadows clung to them like a second skin. James took a cautious step forward, the floorboards groaning beneath his weight. Who are you? He demanded, the sharpness in his voice slicing through the storm's howl. The figure lifted their head, rainwater trickling down a deep frown. It's me, Alex. The world around James and Margaret dissolved into a heavy silence, the storm's fury dulled to hushed whispers. Margaret's eyes widened, and it was as if the air had thickened, turning the atmosphere electric with tension. Alex? She echoed, incredulity lacing her words. What the hell are you doing here? James glanced back at Margaret, his heart racing. There's no going back now. The confrontation had arrived at their doorsteps, a mess brought to life by secrets and what lay underneath. Let us talk inside, James said, his voice low, but full of authority. He gestured for Alex to step over the threshold, and the man did, dripping onto the carpet like some dark harbinger of their turmoil. The moment the door shut, a primal instinct surged through Sophia. She stepped closer, closer to the gathering storm of emotions, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. You have a lot of nerve showing up here. James's anger simmered just below the surface, each word punctuated with unrestrained power. Alex opened his mouth to respond, but before he could utter another word, Sophia interjected. What is going on? You can't just drop a bomb like this and expect no questions. The tension wrapped around them tight, a noose of fear and intrigue. Alex, just tell me, James urged, his hands clenched into fists, betraying the inner turmoil that tore at his composure. I'm here about Margaret, Alex began, voice low yet somehow dripping with expectation, as if he believed his presence alone would unravel her defenses. I know she has been keeping things from you. Things that could change everything. At the sound of his name, James shot a look at Margaret, her face pale, a mask of muted horror. What things? He demanded. Things about the party, Alex continued, each word slow and deliberate, like bricks falling into place. Details that might make you reconsider your trust. But why do you come to him? Margaret's voice was a fevered whisper as she fought to keep the uncertainty from her tone. Why not talk to me? You could have just sent a message. Because he's the only one I could trust to bring this out into the open, Alex replied, eyes flaring with determination. Everything's on the line, and you need to understand the truth before. Before what? James stepped closer, pressing. Before everything you say turns me against Margaret. You think I'm going to just believe you? In that moment, Margaret turned, eyes widened, seeking answers. What truth, Alex? What do you know? But before Alex could respond, the room dimmed again, the storm outside howling like a tormented spirit. Rain lashed against the windows, echoing the chaos inside their hearts. What are you so scared of? Sophia chimed in, stepping closer and challenging the uncertainty with a hint of fire. Her heart raced. They were all caught in a spider's web spun from lies and desperation, slowly closing in. Alex hesitated, glancing at the door as if he might bolt. I can't explain it all right now. But you have to come with me. Come with you? James scoffed, disbelief flooding his voice. You waltz in here, stirring up all this, and expect us to just follow. I know you think it's insane, but trust me. Alex snapped, frustration spilling over. If we don't move now, it won't just be secrets that get uncovered. Someone's life is in danger. The weight of his words hung in the air, thickening the tension, opening that crucial question, whose life? In that moment, a split second of silence reigned before Margaret, gripping the edge of the table, choked out, "What have you done?" Those 4 words echoed off the walls, reverberating with dread. Each of them held their breath, only to feel the suffocating dread creep deeper. Outside, the thunder crashed, suddenly louder, a forceful reminder that time was running out. Will you come? Alex whispered urgently, each syllable dripping with urgency. And as their gaze narrowed on him, hearts pounding in sync, a horrifying realization washed over them: the storm wasn't the only thing threatening their lives tonight. The room felt like it was closing in, shadows creeping along the walls as Alex's words hung in the thick, charged air. James could feel his heart race, muscles tense, caught between disbelief and the nagging instinct that something was terribly wrong. Rain drummed relentlessly against the windows, each drop a reminder of the storm both outside and within. Someone's life in danger. Sophia echoed, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes darting between James and Alex. The fire in her challenge was dimming, fear taking over. Yes. Alex insisted, his voice urgent, pulling them back into that cresting wave of panic. It's about more than just secrets, it's about what happened that night. What are you talking about? James demanded, stepping closer, his fists clenched. What happened at the party? You need to be clear, or I swear. James. Stop. Margaret's voice broke through his mounting fury, edged with desperation. Let him talk. James glanced at her, eyes searching for understanding. He hated that fear was twisting her expression. Yet, despite everything, that instinct, that protective urge for Margaret, held him back. She needed answers, too. Go on, Alex, she urged, her breath catching. What did you find out? Taking a deep breath, Alex composed himself, eyes narrowing with intent. When I got the call about the party rumors spreading about what happened, I found a few things that didn't sit right. Someone was blackout drunk, someone who shouldn't have been who. James pressed, the anger bubbling. You need to get to the point. Is it true you were with Tara that night? Alex's gaze pierced Margaret, causing her to flinch as if he'd slapped her. Because it wasn't just a drunken mistake. It was orchestrated. Don't you dare bring her into this. James snapped, the word her like ice forming between them. Why wouldn't I? Alex shot back. She was involved. I've seen things you don't know about, and Margaret's face crumpled, her voice shaking. Things like what? If this is about the rumors, they're just that. Please, just tell me you were wrong. I wish I could say that. Alex took a step forward, voice fierce and pained. I've seen proof, Margaret. This was rigged. I swear it. It was meant to ruin you. Stop. James shouted, feeling an energy in the room shift like a trapped animal waiting to break free. You're throwing accusations without proof. Do you even hear what you're saying? James. Margaret's tone was sharper, a plea that clawed at his heart. If Alex knows something before she could finish, a deafening crash of thunder shook the house, and the lights flickered ominously before plunging them into darkness. Shit. James cursed as he grabbed Margaret's hand, pulling her close. Adrenaline surged through him, an instinctive need to protect. There is something you need to know about that night. Alex's voice emerged from the vague light of flashes outside. A flickering strike of lightning illuminated his face, revealing a haunted look that made James's stomach twist. Is this about Claire? Alex continued, the urgency climbing higher. She was there, and she knows. What do you know about Claire? Margaret's voice broke. You can't just. I'm not the only one in danger here. Alex shot back, desperation overwhelming him. The longer we wait, the worse it gets. The people behind this are ruthless, and they want to bury the truth. The pressure in the air thickened, each breath resonating with a shared realization that, somewhere beyond the storm, a greater threat loomed, one rooted deeply in tangled relationships and buried pasts. What do we do? James asked, uncertainty cooling his heated instincts. The night storm, the pounding rain, it all felt like a prelude to an even greater chaos waiting to unfold. Follow me, Alex urged, a semblance of determination resurfacing. We don't have much time, and if we don't leave now, we may not get another chance. As they exchanged glances, an overwhelming tension hung between them. Could they truly trust him? And if not, what awaited them beyond the door? With the storm raging both inside and out, they were faced with an impossible choice. Will you follow him? Margaret breathed, the weight of her words striking harder than any thunder. In that moment, a palpable silence collided with the chaos, hearts thudding, riddled with doubt and fear. But one question echoed louder than the storm: what lay beyond the truth they were sprinting towards? The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty and dread as the wind howled outside, slashing through the trees like an ominous warning. James hesitated, his instincts screaming that every moment wasted was a moment closer to danger. He could sense Margaret's eyes on him, pleading for reassurance, but all he could see were shadows creeping around the edges of the room, shadows that felt like they were reaching for him. James, she said softly, breaking the silence. We need to know what's really happening. We can't just stay here. With a reluctant nod, he tightened his grip on her hand. Okay, he said finally, resolute but shaken, we'll follow him. But we keep our guard up. Alex seemed to relax, though the tension didn't dissipate. Good. There's a place we can hide, somewhere safe. He led them to a narrow hallway, their footsteps echoing against the walls, the storm outside drowning out all noise but the wild beating of their hearts. As they moved deeper into the house, James felt the weight of the night pressing down on him. He barely registered the photographs hanging on the walls, moments of joy frozen in time, but the connection of those faces twisted with uncertainty now filled him with dread. Were any of these people part of the twisted web they were caught in? Wait, Margaret whispered, pulling him back, her eyes wide as she scanned every nook. What if we're walking into a trap? Trust me, Alex urged, casting nervous glances over his shoulder. I wouldn't put you in danger if I didn't think it was necessary. We're running out of time. They rounded a corner, and Alex stopped abruptly at a door marked with peeling paint. In here, he said, urgency clawing at his tone. It's a storage room, but before he could finish, the power blinked back on, and the droning hum of fluorescent lights washed over them, illuminating the cramped space lined with dust-covered boxes. Instantly, the mood shifted, the storm's fury seemed to claw at the windows, but right now, they were safe at least for the moment. What exactly do you know about Claire? James pressed, refusing to let the tension slip away just yet. You said she was involved. How? Alex took a deep breath, steeling himself. Claire was more than just a guest at that party. She was part of the plan. Someone wanted her out of the picture, but they didn't count on her fighting back. I've seen the threats. She's in danger. Margaret's voice trembled as fear washed over her. Yes, Alex continued, his voice lowering to a whisper, and I think she's hiding something about that night, something that could tear everything apart. But the worst part? They're watching us. James exchanged a glance with Margaret, the realization slamming into him like a freight train. If Claire was in danger, then so were they, especially if they were getting too close to the truth. Who are they? He demanded, the urgency cracking through his voice. Who's behind this? The same people who organized everything at the party, Alex said, his eyes darting around as if enemy eyes were already upon them. Powerful people who aren't afraid to do whatever it takes. Suddenly, a loud bang resonated from outside the door, jolting them to attention. James's heart raced as he whipped around, adrenaline coursing through him. What was that? I don't know, but we have to move. They've found us, Alex said, his urgency turning frantic. We have to get out of here. They pushed through the cluttered room, adrenaline surging as dread hung thick in the air. Every creak of the floorboard seemed amplified, every whisper of the wind threatening to expose them. Where do we go? Margaret asked, panicked. What if they're waiting out there? We have to trust ourselves, James said, his voice steadier than he felt. And each other. We can't let fear blind us. But as they opened the door, the world outside the small sanctuary felt even more foreboding. A chill swept over James, and he realized that whatever awaited them now would shape the future in ways they couldn't even begin to understand. Ready? He asked, glancing back at Margaret, who nodded, fear mingling with determination. Stepping out into the unknown, the chamber of secrets and shadows loomed larger than ever. Then, in the distance, through the howl of the storm, he heard it, a low voice whispering, and with it hung an unshakable question: were they too late to save Claire, or were they already walking into the trap that would seal their fates? As they stepped into the chaos outside the storeroom, the weight of uncertainty and fear pressed down on each of them. Thunder rumbled ominously, but it was the sharp, panicked shout from Alex that sent a bolt of adrenaline surging through James. Run! Alex yelled, sprinting down the dim hallway. James felt Margaret's grip tighten on his arm as they followed, urgency fueling their escape. Stumbling through the mansion's expansive corridors, they reached the grand staircase, its opulence now a mere backdrop to their frantic race against time. What lay behind them was a web of deceit, but ahead, there was nothing but dark shadows lurking. Where do we go? Margaret gasped, her eyes wide with fear, every step echoing their breaking hearts. The back exit. We can't go out through the front, they'll be watching. Alex yelled, urgency thick in his tone. Bursting through the kitchen door, they skidded to a halt. The back door creaked ominously, a single trail of sunlight breaking through the gloom as the storm raged outside. Go! Alex urged. James nodded to Margaret, leading the way as they darted toward the door. But just as they reached it, a figure emerged from the shadows. Felix. Felix! James breathed, relief flooding through him for a split second before the panic returned. What are you doing here? I saw you running. You need to hide. They're here. Felix blurted, eyes wide and frantic. The gravity of his words slammed into them like a freight train. Who's here? James demanded, dread pooling in his stomach. Men in black suits. They're here to clean up a mess, Felix stuttered, his voice shaking. Clean up? Sophia whispered, her heart racing. What does that mean? Without waiting for an answer, Felix grabbed Sophia's hand. This way. There's a cellar, it'll be safe until they leave. The pounding of footsteps echoed through the mansion, and they had no time to argue. They followed Felix into a dimly lit corridor leading to the cellar door. It creaked open, darkness swallowing them as they hurried inside. Inside the heavy silence, the air felt thick, a blanket of tension smothering them. "What's really going on?" James pressed, desperate for clarity. Felix met his gaze, the fear in his eyes palpable. "I overheard them. It's about the party. Claire wasn't just drunk. Something happened that night, and it could ruin everything if it gets out. They can't let that truth surface." "The truth?" Margaret echoed, "What truth about Claire?" Suddenly, the door above them burst open, light flooding the space. "Quick!" Alex hissed, "They found us." As they huddled in the dark, the chaos above grew louder, a cacophony of shouts and heavy footsteps. The sound gnawed at their nerves, each clash promising impending danger. "They came for her," Felix whispered, his expression grave. "They're here to tie up loose ends." "Who?" Margaret pleaded, her breaths short and quick. "Who's coming?" But Felix's mouth tightened, his silence a testament to the realities of their world, a world rife with secrets better left buried. The commotion above shifted, footsteps retreating, but the tension still hanging, thick enough to cut. Slowly, they began to breathe again, but the darkness of the cellar felt suffocating, echoing their unarticulated fears. "What do we do now?" she whispered, looking at the others for hope. "Stay quiet," Alex instructed firmly. "We have to wait it out, figure a plan to get Claire out safely. She's key to unraveling this." "Do you even know where she is?" James asked. "She's hiding. And if we don't find her first, whoever's hunting her will get to her first." A murmur of agreement swept through the group. They could not let that happen. It was clear now that their fates were intertwined, a bond formed not just by circumstances but by the legitimacy of truth. Suddenly, the cellar door creaked open again. James's heart thudded loudly, pounding in his chest like a war drum. There stood Felix, pale and wide-eyed. "They're gone, but they'll be back," he said. "We can't stay here." Alex turned, urgency coloring his voice. "We'll start searching for Claire now, while we can." James nodded. Margaret's face was resolute, no longer filled with fear, but a determination that clung to her like a shield. Outside, the storm began to relent, the winds less fierce, as if acknowledging their resolve. The dark clouds still loomed above, but a soft light peeked through, a promise of clarity in the chaos. They tread cautiously to the back door and stepped outside, their world reborn as each of them held onto their shifting fates, fragile yet resilient. Moving quickly across the property behind the mansion, Sophia caught Felix's eye. "Thank you. We wouldn't have made it without you." Felix nodded, his expression somber yet proud. "Stay close to the truth. Find her before it's too late." And as they dashed into the woods behind the estate, determination ignited in their hearts. They had a mission now, a shared goal that would shape their lives. Each pulse of the evening air energized them as they raced toward the unknown, ready to confront the dark and looming truth that awaited. Emerging from the shadows, they began their search, trusting that the light of truth would guide them through even the most uncertain of storms. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. You've loved following along, so smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. And please, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to support the channel through these actions.